Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. It's great to be with you on a gorgeous Tuesday across Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Central Virginia, and the world. The I Love CVille Show spotlights the best of Charlottesville, Virginia, and undoubtedly, our guest epitomizes the best of Charlottesville, Virginia. L Voisinet is going to join us in a matter of moments. We're going to have a fantastic discussion talking about everything from Woolen Mills to the downtown mall to the first electric cars. In Charlottesville. We're going to talk about real estate and how you can use a self-directed IRA to further your wealth portfolio. He's doing that right now. I want to talk about the evolution of the community in totality, the history of the ice rink in the Main Street Arena, and how it could pertain to grounds at the University of Virginia, and perhaps the Brook Hill development that Corin's team is really the driving force of in northern Albemarle County. We'll talk about Roger and him as a real estate agent, as an entrepreneur, and as just a lover of all things Charlottesville. I want to thank some of the folks that make the program possible first. I'd like to give some love to one of our best clients, one of our favorite clients, Interstate Pest and Service Companies. We are their proud advertising agency of record. This business started in 1969 with the first generation. That was Mr. Wells. He had one truck, he had himself, and a willingness to work hard. In 1969, he'd go to his first account, his first client, service them successfully, and then go to the closest payphone and call his second client and say, "May I go to your home now?" Today, it's almost 100 employees strong, a 4-generation strong family, and undoubtedly doing great things for Charlottesville, Central Virginia, and the Commonwealth. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, also a part of this program. He's one of our fantastic clients as well. Dr. Wagner, whether it's physical therapy, sports medicine, or chiropractic care, changing people's lives. Who's got your back? Dr. Wagner has got your back. Abby's got a joke for me. He says, "You've been practicing Roger's last name since yesterday's show." Let's welcome Roger to the program.
Yes,
I have been.
Yeah, hey, by the way, Scott Wagner's a great hockey player.
He is.
How you doing, Scott?
He is.
He always took care of the hockey players. Got to give him some props for that.
I will relay that to Dr. Wagner.
Yeah.
Give it a like, give it a share on any of the streams you're watching. I'll get out of the way. How are you feeling? What's going on with Roger's World?
Well, I'm feeling great. I'm married to a wonderful woman named Jessica, who you just met the other day.
She's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous.
So nice.
Smart, nice, yoga teacher. She loves working at the YMCA, which that's something worth talking about.
Yeah.
She loves the diversity there. She loves helping people. She's excited. She used to be a nurse, and amongst other things, and she just, the people who run the hospitals don't treat nurses very well, and it filters down to the real care we're given. So she just changed her whole career and became a personal trainer. She's doing diabetes prevention, helping people recover from cancer treatments. She's learning how to use her skills to help people with physical ailments, overcome them more quickly in association with, medical care.
I love it. I love it. I enjoyed meeting her. Eric Murphy says hello. Rachel Burns says hello. I'd love to start with Woolen Mills.
Yeah.
1982, you first moved there?
So here's the story. This is a really interesting story. I lived on the downtown mall, and I thought, well, I have to move now. Our company was outgrowing the office where I also lived. And I thought, well, I always loved the Woolen Mills because I once rode my bike around and I stopped at this house once and it just resonated with me. So believe it or not, Blaise Gaston said, "Hey, Roger, Chris Murray's going to sell his house." Chris calls me on Christmas Day of 1981.
Wow.
Says, "I'm moving in 2 weeks. Do you want to buy my house?" Now, keep in mind, interest rates were 24% at my Virginia Solar office, 16% for mortgages. So, and I didn't realize, I was like ungainfully overemployed because I was, my own company. I didn't really pay myself much. So I went to look at this house, and it was the house that I always had fallen in love with, but never thought much of. That was 2 years previous. So to make a long story, my dad helped me buy it. I got the first adjustable rate mortgage, 13% plus or minus 3. I did a lease purchase where I moved in the house in February and closed in July, so I had saved up $4,000. The purchase price was $60,000.
I was going to ask you that.
$60,000.
Okay. It makes that interest rate easier?
Well, when interest rates are high, it suppresses prices.
Right.
And those days, the Woolen Mills was kind of rough. What
does kind of rough mean? Put that in perspective.
The neighbor next to me was an alcoholic who his son used to sleep under the bridge on Franklin Street. And in 1982, about half a year after I moved in, some drunk tore down the road, crashed into the telephone pole outside my house. Car burst into flames. The driver ran off into the woods. The cops caught the other guy, and then that same driver ended up in my basement 4 hours later, screaming bloody murder. It was that kind of rough.
Wow.
This is 82. So Art Wheeler lived in my house then. I had to have roommates because I had to pay the mortgage.
Sure.
So we had parties in my backyard. It was this beautiful big acre, and it evolved to, we had over 36 years, 27 parties with bands. It grew to, 400
You have over
people.
an acre?
Yeah,
In the city?
in the city. Well, that's the other nice
Is
thing.
that the county line?
I'm in the county.
Okay.
But the county city line, it goes diagonally through my backyard. So
Get out of town.
when we sit down by the river, we're in the city, but my house is in the county, and I pay county taxes.
So that's interesting because when Willow Tree moved from downtown to this new development that you know more about than I do, we were talking about the loss of the revenue from the city to the county.
True. But that's going to be made up for by a county company whose name I forget.
Co-Construct.
200 employees moving to Jay Blanton's new office building behind the Glass House. So, everything's fine.
Talk to us about what you saw from 82 to 2019. Now Woolen Mills is like Tony, a hot spot. I mean, Belmont is at its capacity.
Yeah.
Woolen Mills is about to blow up.
Well, just imagine when Brian Roy finishes the leasehold improvements with and for Willow Tree in 18 months hence, there'll be between 250 and 400 Willow Tree employees, and I imagine they'd all love to walk to work, wouldn't you?
Yes, especially the millennials that work there.
Yeah, and they don't even own cars. So
right.
That's got to drive up demand for homes, and I have one listed on Chesapeake, Greg and Mozzie's house that's really beautiful. So
it is beautiful. That photoed really well.
Yeah.
I saw the listing.
The photos are great.
Yeah.
John Wade did them. So at the end of East Market, there's going to be the back entrance. This is where I come in, why I love the project, amongst other reasons, but there's going to be a new coffee shop, a restaurant, a brewery, and an event center, and we're going to be sitting down by Moores Creek overlooking the rapids. And the traffic's going to go down Broadway, because that's where the 300-car parking lot is.
Right.
Just another neighborhood pub.
So you're in a good spot.
Yeah, I'm right next to it. It makes me feel like Montreal. The thing I loved about the neighborhoods in Montreal, bigger city, is the commercial and the residential sectors were right next to each other. They were part and parcel. So every home had a neighborhood pub or whatever. You could walk to it. So now we can do that.
He's a proud Canadian.
I'm sort of. I was a U.S. citizen who wanted to be a dual, but U.S. wouldn't allow it in the 80s. But I was born in Buffalo, so I feel like I'm a citizen of Buffalo, Ontario, we used to call it.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like Canada. Where I was at the U.S. Ice Arena trade show in downtown Buffalo, and spent 3 days there with people on our UVA Ice Park team.
Yeah.
So Woolen Mills, people should be buying their houses in the Woolen Mills now for rapid appreciation, even more so.
I would think you can
years.
enter, depending on the home, the lot, the size, the square foot, the condition. I think you could probably enter in the early 3s in Woolen Mills.
Well, there's a fixer-upper that just went under contract for $295. So it's hard to find any homes.
Right, especially in the city.
But in the Woolen Mills. But the ones that just went under contract or sold were from $380 to $480.
Okay. Michael Corbett says you're a natural. You should have your own show.
Well, thank you, Michael. He should be He's at the hospiel. Tell him to pay attention.
He's watching right now. He's watching from the hospital.
Michael.
If Rick Spagoni is watching.
Hey, Rick.
Rick Spagoni, a fellow Phi Kappa Psi from the University of Virginia. I was a Phi Psi.
You were?
I was a Phi Psi.
Sigma Nu, but not at UVA.
Karen Straley's watching. Carol Schwab Barnett. Kenneth Evans. Neil's got a message for you.
Okay.
Neil says Woolen Mills would not be experiencing this renaissance absent the $1.2 million investment in air scrubbing by Rivanna Water and Sewer Authority.
Yes.
That is so true.
Well, here's the story about this so-called smell. Where I live at the end of East Market, it never really occurred to me that there was an odor, but other people downwind, because I think it had to do with the topography. I was in the shadow of the train tracks. But over the years, thanks to Peggy and Mike Vanier's pushing for the sewer pumping station to be relocated and the efforts of the Water and Sewer Authority in the city to ameliorate the odor, it certainly has helped.
Put this in perspective, the Hogwaller Woolen Mills contrast.
So Hogwaller is on the south side of the train tracks.
Okay.
That's really the dividing line.
Uh-huh.
So anything, Broadway over to the interstate would be Hogwaller or Lower Belmont. So the Woolen Mills is to the north of it's the CSX line. CSX runs east-west and Norfolk Southern is north-south. And the CSX line is pretty interesting. They have about six trains a day, and then the Buckingham branch maintains it, so there's always something going on this little stretch of land, or track, I mean.
Sally Hudson, welcome to the show. Dan Pettit, welcome to the program. Jeremy Lamb, welcome to the program. Sally, congrats on your victory.
She's so wonderful. I'm so proud
She's
of her.
watching. Give her
Hi,
a
Sally.
positive line here.
Well, Sally, you're just amazing. She's a hockey player, too.
Get out of town.
She's a hockey player.
Sally Hudson, you're a checker. I say a defender of some kind.
She's just
you get physical against the board, Sally?
She's a speedy winger.
Congrats on the victory, Sally Hudson. Karen, and you're going to have to help me with this last name, Karen Snadecki?
Karen Snadecki's in Buffalo.
Okay.
They're good Bills and Sabres fans like me, and they used to live in Charlottesville, and now they're back in Buffalo.
She says, high praise from Roger from Jerry. He epitomizes what's best about Charlottesville. Absolutely. GR Falls, one of our buddies, watching right now. He says, go, Mr. Remax.
He's our broker.
Yes, he is.
Remax Realty Specialist.
I've had a beverage or two with GR.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I've enjoyed my time with GR.
He's
Jim
excellent.
Duxbury.
Jim Duxbury, yeah.
Says, hi, Roger.
Great
Did you
guy.
talk about the future rink? We will go there, Jim.
We will go there.
I promise you, Jim. You get a lot of people watching right now. Give it a like. Give it a share. I want to put, because we call them sizzle reels, and they're highlight clips from the show.
Okay, yeah.
I want to dot the I's and cross the T's on Woolen Mills.
Oh, okay.
What do you see the future of the neighborhood in, say, like the next 10 years?
Well, there's still 25% of the homes need work.
TLC.
So they'll slowly get. There's one next. I own a rental at 1510, and the one at just to the west of me at 1508. The owner died, and it just went under contract. So that's going to be fixed up, and that's the kind of thing that's going to happen. Joe Milby has brilliantly purchased the old Bikers Church, we call it, on East Market on the corner. He's going to build 5 houses.
Okay.
By the way, he wanted to do what everybody wants, is affordable, smaller, creative homes a la Sarah Suzanka of the Not So Big House Book.
Okay.
But the city shot him down, so now he's going to build 5 houses that'll probably sell for $500,000.
I love it. Greg Slater says you're the original Mr. Solar.
Yeah, well,
We've had Greg on this program.
I can't
Welcome.
argue with that because I go way back to 74 on that.
I enjoyed the creamery with those passes you gave us, Greg Slater. Thank you kindly for that. My family enjoyed it.
Oh, and Crozet, I was there yesterday.
And Crozet.
Yeah, at the Piedmont place. I
Yeah,
went to the creamery, good place.
The Piedmont place is a beautiful building.
Yeah. That was done by, what's his name? The guy who started Piedmont. The guy who started the company that Stanley Martin bought. I'll think of his name.
Give us Greg Slater. If you know that answer, put it on the chat here, and we'll relay it on air for us.
I'm sure he does. I know too, but I haven't thought about him.
I see a lot of similarities, a lot of folks watching right now, with what's happening in Woolen Mills, with what was happening in Belmont when I was there in the early 2000s. My first place outside of UVA, once I got out of the bubble, was on Little Graves.
Oh, yeah.
Right behind Spudnuts.
Nice place. Dead end practically, but not really.
Yeah, because it's got that dirt road.
I know, but
cut through.
Nobody drives through it. It's like a dead end, but it's not officially.
Right. Only the neighbors know about that cut through. We could stumble to and from Moss.
Yeah.
We could stumble to and from the downtown mall. It was me and two buddies, actually me and three buddies. One of my buddies, to keep rent prices down, this is when we had no money. This was 2005.
2005.
One of my buddies would climb a rope ladder to the attic, and he lived in the attic. My other buddy lived in a converted living room, and me and my other buddy got the 2 bedrooms. And 4 of us were in a house that was $1,000 a month, $250 a month rent.
Post-college.
Post-college.
fraternity.
It was unbelievable.
So imagine walking to the downtown mall in 1977.
Tell me about
when
that.
There was, well, I lived there starting in 79, but I would explore it in the 70s when C&O was open. Fellini's a little bit. And
Was that Sandy McAdams' time?
Sandy, God bless Sandy, he started C&O and then Daedalus.
I see him all the time here.
Fellini's was early in those days, the same time. That's about all that was open except for Williams Corner Bookstore, which is now where the Virginia National Bank is. But literally, that's it. I remember putting out fires in the garbage cans that vagrants had started. So I moved in my condo. First condo on the mall was developed by Mitch Vanieris and Bill Elwood, and it was next to Miller's, and I lived on the 3rd floor, and my neighbors were Dean Bosserman, Dean of Architecture, and Dean Kellogg, Dean of Arts and Science, and we started Virginia Solar there in 79. And then I moved to my house in 82.
I love it. And that first sizzle reel right there, start to finish. That one's fantastic. Brent Walters is watching. He is watching in Raleigh, North Carolina, the 19-time racquetball champion in the state of North Carolina.
Wow.
Welcome, Brent, to the program. He had a fantastic story in the News and Observer about him. Rain and Connie Matternick are watching. We got the answer from Greg Slater, on the developer of Piedmont Place. He says Drew Holsworth.
Drew, that's him, definitely. He went to Darden and he studied, I think he studied like how Ryan Homes did their thing, and he started his own company and sold it to Stanley Martin, and now he's a developer.
You, a lot of folks know you as the real estate agent. I know you as the lover of Charlottesville, the entrepreneur, man about town, if you may. Let me throw Crozet to you. And Debbie Burdick says hello.
I used to live in Crozet. Hi, Debbie. TEDxCharlottesville.
We're going to go TEDxCharlottesville.
We're going to talk.
How about Crozet? Where are you seeing Crozet? What's happening in Crozet?
So I used to live in Whitehall. When I moved here from Montreal, I rented a cabin in Whitehall. My address was Crozet. And I went to the dentist in Crozet because I got my teeth broken in a fight scene in West Side Story when I was up in Barboursville, and I had to go to a dentist.
Is that true?
Yeah, then I had to go to, I was Riff in West Side Story, and I got my teeth broken in a practice. So I went to a dentist. The nearest dentist was in Crozet, Dr. Rice.
Okay.
And there wasn't much in Crozet then, Crozet Pizza. So now Piedmont Places come along. The new library is wonderful. Of course, Old Trail. Frank Stoner and J.J. Lopez are doing their development there. A lot of good things.
Yeah, a lot of good
little
things.
Satellite community.
Is it at capacity?
No.
And what do you think of the road infrastructure?
Well, it's never adequate.
Yeah.
Never adequate. We could, it might be the point where we could have a little shuttle service between UVA and Crozet.
Greg, and Greg Slater's still watching right here. Greg, maybe you come on Thursday's show, Greg Slater. I sent an email to Jim Duncan about this.
Okay.
I got a tip today while walking the downtown mall. Like you, when I walk the downtown mall, it's an experience.
Yeah.
You know, you get stopped.
It certainly is.
And I'll leave his name out of it, but someone who follows the development very closely said tomorrow, Wednesday, the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors at high noon, maybe 1 o'clock, have a press conference called, a meeting called. And in this meeting, they're going to be discussing the future of Crozet Plaza. And Crozet Plaza is...
That's Stoner's.
Yes.
And Lopez. That's their... I can show you a picture on my iPad. I just took it yesterday.
Talk to us about that.
Well, I don't know a lot about it, but it's behind Piedmont Place and before Paul Perron's Robotic Car Center and to the south of the railroad tracks. And it looks like it's mixed use, has a nice plaza. I don't know the scale, like how many houses they're planning. I'm sure it's in the range of 100 or 200. Probably some retail and offices around the plaza. It's all online. You can go to their website.
Greg Slater says John just started a test route between Crozet and CVille, and at the same time that Greg Slater put that on the feed, Neil Williamson put on a feed a link to the story of the connector between Crozet. So a lot of folks watching right now. A lot of people that know what's going on watching.
Yeah, well, that's how we get things done around here.
I know, and that's what I love about Charlottesville.
It's fun.
Let me throw this to you here. Do you see a downtown mall corridor in Crozet at Crozet Plaza, right behind Piedmont Place? And Greg, this would be great for your creamery. Do you see a pedestrian-type corridor having success in Crozet?
Well, I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask that. I don't know to what extent they're going to, have pedestrians there. I know there are going to be a couple hundred. I don't know to what number it would take to make it successful, but I'm sure they've planned an area without cars. I guess it's got satellite parking and everything else is pedestrians around the central plaza. Frank and JJ, they're good people. They know what to do, and they want to create a pleasant environment for kids and adults.
I heard, and Greg, jump in on the mix here. Neil, jump in the mix here. Kelly Dye says, "Hey, Roger."
Hey, Kelly.
Kelly's
Citizens Bank.
Yeah, he and I have been talking about a deal.
Great bank.
With
you want
here,
a
the
home
Macklin building.
Home equity loan, you go to Kelly.
I got to, Kelly, you're getting some props here from Roger. I owe you an email, Kelly. Let me throw this to you. Buffalo is shouting at you. Karen says Buffalo. Shout back at you from downtown Buffalo.
Do you know anything about football? Buffalo
yeah,
Bills quarterback? So I was in
course.
Buffalo. I checked into the Embassy Suites Hotel. I just dropped my car off. I haven't been in the hotel yet. And who walks up to me to shake my hand is Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Bills.
Get out of town.
Very first guy I met in Buffalo.
Get out of town.
I can't believe it. So we have a Buffalo Bills backers club in Charlottesville that numbers about 150 people. We go to the Trinity Pub.
I was going to ask you.
For every game.
Trinity on the corner.
Trinity. And there's guys, I swear, who are fanatic Bills fans, and they never even lived in Buffalo like I did. Patrick Webb, he's born in Long Island, and he's like the leader.
I want to throw this to you here, Crozet related. And Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. Neil, correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe got it at $6 million.
Go what?
That parcel, look for a Crozet Plaza, where it's going to go. And I mean, you talk about, $6 million. I'm not trying to marginalize $6 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But that parcel, that land in the heart of Crozet, with what it could be, that's a gold mine waiting to happen. And I really think, and I'm going to throw it to you, I really think the Crozetians will rally around a downtown corridor that's synonymous with the downtown mall in Charlottesville, because you got so many passionate folks in Crozet, Old Trail, that would love to walk to and from places.
Yeah, of course, Old Trail has somewhat similar. They have that commercial
Yes.
center you can walk to. They have the pool. So they're a little bit in competition. These kind of projects take enormous vision and capital, and often the rewards don't come for 10 or 20 years. And think about the Charlottesville Mall, which was first envisioned in the early to mid-'70s. They started construction in '75, but it wasn't until 1996 when the Ice Park opened with the Regal Cinema and the mall crossing and the downtown grill that things really turned around. So it's over 20 years to make it successful.
So you're basically saying the people that are the visionaries. Welcome Donna Jenkins to the program. Coley Cutler says, "Hey Raj,
Hey,
great
Coley,
show."
He used to live here.
So we got a lot of folks watching from outside the area right now. You're basically saying the folks that are the visionaries behind projects like that, it's often a generational ROI,
Yeah,
return on investment.
especially for something as risky as a combination of retail and office. Think about retail. Retail is kind of declining.
Retail is
Just
declining.
look at what's happening on 29. We got Shops at Stonefield, which is open but struggling. Seminole Square has vacancies.
Fashion Square is a ghost
Square
town.
Mall is downgraded from an A to a B performing and maybe just will close altogether. But Albemarle Square, working our way north, has 40% vacancies. I counted them last week, 14 vacant places. And then you go, and then there's the Brook Hill wants to do another shopping center, which I really don't understand. And then there's North Point, which is Chuck Rotkin's development. That's Great Eastern Management. They're north again, up by the airport road, and that's a project that's been on the books for 20 years, and they have a website telling you what they're going to do already. So.
Well, I would think if it's going to have success, and we're spitballing two guys kind of in a barbershop or bar setting, just talking about the area,
Yep.
I would think as a spitball type of conversation, that it's going to have to be music venue and restaurant focused, like the
Just
experience, like the mall,
Yeah.
like the experience destination type concept. And I think Crozet, it could work there. Greg Slater, jump in here. Neil has this to say about what we're talking about. The developers, and we're talking Stoner.
Yeah.
The developers also required significant community engagement and risk associated with rezoning and creative thinking. Constance Wyatt says hello from Keswick.
So Frank and LJ were very good about working with the people. They have really good people skills, and they reached out and they weren't shy about that. The other thing, who knows what kind of environmental problems they might have encountered there that had to be ameliorated and reduced. And spending $6 million on land doesn't mean that's their basis in the land.
That's true.
It could be much more. Not to mention, all the infrastructure that has to go there.
A good example of that, I'm going to throw it to you guys. Jump in if you want to dictate the pace and tempo of the conversation, is Keith Woodard on Water Street with the West 2nd.
Second condos, 5 years.
He had $1 million plus in underground infrastructure, and then Joe just chose to walk away.
Well, yeah, that's
because of the City Hall rift.
He had $1 million he spent. He had a showroom. He had a $10,000 interactive model. He had 25 contracts with reservations, non-binding contracts, and still, the cost of construction has gone up so much in that 5-year period. He had to revisit it, and it just didn't make as much sense.
Well, did that surprise you?
No. Now, everybody knows the cost of construction is going up, and the one thing that's death about a project is time. Any project.
You're saying because the cost of goods and labor goes up.
Well, yeah, you're spending money, but you're not having any income. You're not even close to getting income. 5 years is a huge amount of time, and how do you even know what the interest rates are going to be 5 years hence, or what the economy is going to be, or what other competition there'll be, When Keith started the West 2nd End condos, I don't even know if the C&O Row was planned then.
It was not.
No, and look what the C&O Row sold.
Million plus.
$1.2 million detached townhomes, and now they have
3 levels.
3 or 4 levels.
Yeah, and now they're reselling for more.
Well, yeah, so that's
Corin crushed it with that.
Well, yeah, Corin had the land, and at one time that was going to be a park around the coal tower, 2 condo buildings and townhomes. And then this is another example of how things change. And then he paused, and then 10 years later it became row homes. So far there's no park around the coal tower, and then there's apartment building. So it's completely different than the original site plan.
Barbara Lundgren, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us, Barbara Lundgren. Tell us the coal tower story.
Well, which one? The one that...
The one with the gunman.
Well, someone died, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and then Oliver Kutner did a...
Wasn't it a standoff?
Yes.
From the coal tower? Do you
think
remember
so.
that one?
I do, because I took police training. There's the thing called Citizens Police Academy.
Okay.
Anyone can take, anyone listening. I did the city and the county, and one of the trainings was with the gun simulator. And one of the trainings in the gun simulator was a guy at the coal tower sitting on the tracks, and we had to go up to him, and turns out he had a gun, and we had to stop him from shooting us. And so that was based on some real life stories.
Valerie, and literally her name is Valerie.
Which Valerie?
You're going to get a kick out of this. She says Roger for mayor.
Oh, no. I don't even live in the city, Valerie.
He just told us he lives in the county. I would consider doing it, but I live in the county.
Yeah.
And
you do too? Okay.
Yeah, I live in Redfields.
Oh, yeah, of course.
In a lot of ways, it's the antithesis of being an entrepreneur.
The living in Redfields part?
No, being on Board of Supervisors or City Council.
I don't like meetings much, so yeah. I think I so admire like Dave Norris and anyone who is a city councilor or mayor
yesterday.
Because it takes such patience. I've seen Dave, 'cause I went to Africa with Dave on this Winnipeg trip, and I remember talking to him, and I seen Dave at the podium at the city council meeting kind of biting his tongue, listening to someone like spout off and something made no sense, and poor Dave. You got to be practically a preacher to be a mayor.
You're getting a lot of feedback here. Abby wants you to discuss some affordable housing options and what are the visionaries for affordable housing in our lovely city. You're getting a lot of props for people asking you to run for local politics. So why don't we talk about this here? 1982, you're in Woolen Mills. You're essentially you're in the county, but you're on the city line.
Yep.
You can walk downtown.
Yep.
How have you seen the pricing of housing stock from an ownership and rental standpoint go north and increase? I mean, it's astronomically increased.
Yeah, but it's not smooth, and it wasn't smooth in the city or the county. Like downtown is enjoyed the greatest appreciation.
Right.
Belmont was stagnant for a while, even the Woolen Mills. But what's most interesting is the houses that are just north of High Street in the north downtown, which are $1 million houses. You couldn't give those away in the 80s and 90s. Not until the mall took off and Lee Danielson and Colin Rolfe and Dorothy Batten deserve a lot of credit. They had this vision for the mall, and they went on the limb and spent $6 million building the ice park. But the Regal Cinema had a clause in its lease saying there must be a downtown ice rink and a mall crossing. And the mall crossing was very controversial. And then the downtown grill. So they're all tied in together, even the Baskin Robbins. So not until that happened did people want to live near the downtown mall. Because now there's a reason to go down there.
To start the sizzle reel, my question to him, and let's keep running it, about the pricing of housing stock, and I want to keep this conversation going. Deborah McLeod says, love you, Roger, you're the man. Pamela Lancaster giving you some props right now.
Well, Pam is in New Orleans. She works on a boat in the Mississippi River.
She's watching in New Orleans
Pam.
right now. Maggie Renee says, you got my vote, Roger.
Hey, Maggie's are you my niece? Yeah. She just gets
You
Maggie.
should know
Maggie
that.
just got her master's degree from Ohio University, and she's a coach for high school, and she rocks it.
Greg Slater wants us to talk about the Nassau project that they have going on with the land trust. I talked about this some with Keith
that's in
Smith.
Hog Waller, and I just went by there yesterday, but I don't know a lot about it. There's 4 units.
Yeah.
I think Greg or Jim or
I know some about this.
yeah, you do.
Yeah. So, and Greg, jump in here. Keith Smith, who's a part of this, is watching right now. Jim Duncan, if you're watching, jump in here. Greg Slater's the chairman of this, I believe.
Yeah.
820 Nassau. It's four homes that have been built that are selling for $250.
Yeah.
That have roughly a market value of mid-3s. And it's done in a way through this land trust where it's little money down. And Greg can offer more perspective. If they choose to sell, they can keep the equity that they've earned and a portion of the appreciation.
Yeah, and
they don't own the land.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and it's a way for affordable housing to come to Charlottesville because we know that's a huge issue right now.
Yeah, it's a huge issue for every...
Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust, Greg says.
Yeah. For every popular community, the people who make it run, the service people, they usually can't afford to live there. I mean, it happens everywhere.
Attorney Nathan Evans, welcome to the program. How do you look at it as an entrepreneur and as a guy who's, business focused, but also Charlottesville focused? I'm torn on this because for me as a conscious capitalist, I'm a social entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Conscious capitalist. I see housing prices increasing as potentially a positive because you got the tax revenue that comes from it that can then be reinvested into the municipality. At the same time, I have friends as a millennial that literally are being forced out of Charlottesville to the outer counties because they can't afford to live here anymore.
Well, if you talk to any builder, they'll tell you the city needs to try harder. The city bureaucracy. So I'll give you an example. I just told you about Joe Milby wanted to do 10 not-so-big houses that Sarah Sazanka has championed, but he's going to do 5 bigger ones now. Richard Price and Richard's the developer and the architect of our condos on High Street. Previous to our producing these 12 condos, there was 2 rundown houses that the city earned $3,000 a year in taxes. I calculated that when we're finished next year, the city's going to earn $55,000 a year in taxes on the same piece of land based on this modestly dense condo courtyard project, which everybody loves. We've just sold another one a couple days ago. So that money could be put towards an affordable housing fund. I mean, that's another $500,000 in 10 years. That's the kind of thing. It's really hard to go out and just build affordable housing when land costs so much.
Right.
And you know what I remember when this topic came up? Someone at Ryan Home said, if you want affordable housing, hire us. We know how to build houses fast and inexpensive. They build them in a factory.
Sure.
They don't even build anything until they sell 6 in advance. They can build 6 townhomes in a row in 3 months.
How'd you respond to that?
I said, yeah, I think you should be more a part of this conversation.
So would they be a developer then instead of a builder?
Well, they're both right now, but they would have to somehow be embraced by the city or the county.
Tony
'Cause
Fisher.
right now, they're like any other builder. They're looking for land and they're building houses and they're really good at it.
Yeah, Tony Fisher, the hockey guy, watching right now. Nicole Scrow, attorney turned builder,
I don't know her.
watching right now. Welcome to the program, Nicole Scrow. You have an open invitation to join us anytime you want. One more question on that sizzle reel, and keep it going. This is a good topic. Where the heck is the affordable housing going to go when you hit it? All the price of land is so freaking high that if the land costs so much money, if you're a developer and you're an entrepreneur and you're a conscious capitalist, how do you get your return?
Well, people are renting. That's why there's so many apartments being built. There is one bright spot. The idea of having an accessory apartment in your backyard.
An ADU.
Yeah, that's a good one. And more people are thinking about doing that. And Mark Watson, who used to be at PHA, now he's working with Greg Powell, and he's on his own. We're doing a little project called Harmony Ridge on 5th Street, by the way. But Mark Watson knows a lot about that. He'd be a good one to talk to about ADAs.
Yeah.
But that's one little bright spot. And if you look around the country, there's many communities who are doing things with ADAs. And I just read yesterday that in San Jose they're building a 800-unit, 12-story co-housing apartment complex where you rent your apartment, but you don't get a kitchen and a bathroom's down the hall. But it's still high, still nicely done and high tech. And
Yeah.
It's so costly to rent or live in Silicon Valley.
Of course.
A house around here that would be 300 would be like 1.6.
Sure.
It's impossible.
I would have loved, Scott is watching in Virginia Beach. Harry Lynn is watching right now. He's tied to the Harry Wright Inc.
You mean Wright's Wrecking?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're
yeah,
watching over there.
Great
from
guys.
Wright's Wrecking. Great
Love
guys.
them. They helped me many years do steel projects for our solar arrays.
They're watching on the job site right now at the at Harry Wright's. Yeah.
Good.
Give it a like. Give it a share, guys. I'm going to get to Harmony Ridge. I would have loved, last one on the affordable housing, and we'll end it here. I would have loved if Ali Kuttner's micro units concept and the glass building had manifested itself.
You mean Oliver's?
Oliver.
Yeah. He had an idea for really affordable apartments, and for some reason they said no to that.
Yeah, micro units, like you would see in New York City. It was brilliant.
It was brilliant.
Kathy Galvin was not a fan of that.
Well, I don't know why, but we got some offices.
Right. Well, I think you got the tree house there, right?
Yeah.
That green building with Salt and Kebab shop. Salt and Kebab is there.
Yeah, and 10 Flavors is upstairs, and Willow Tree Apps is up there, and a few other people.
Michael Corbett, we'll get to your comment here, and the sizzle reel right there. Let's segue to some of the projects he's involved in.
Okay.
The High Street condos.
Yeah.
They look amazing.
They are amazing. They're the only project that's built around a courtyard.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing taller than 2 stories. We have 12 condos. 6 have been sold and occupied. They're called home now by a number of great people. 6 more to build, and we're starting to take reservations. 2 of them are going to have rooftop terraces.
It's amazing. 2
of the 12 condos are commercial residential mix, and we have Convoy web designers.
Yeah.
And Enoch Snyder, design builder. He's an architect and builder. So they're what you see when you drive down High Street. So 11-30.com, I think, is our website. And they're also about half price of what Keith was planning at the West Secondhand Condos. And we're only
half a mile?
8 blocks.
Yeah.
I think it's 10-minute walk. It's going to be, a healthy walk.
Right. I think whoever, and I'm going to throw this is the third sizzle reel about the High Street condos. I think it's something that we need to spotlight. Whoever buys in the High Street condos, I think the return on investment is going to be astronomical. And why I think that is, and I'm going to throw it to you, and I'm going to get out of the way.
By the way, it's called 1130 condos.
Okay, 1130
Not to be
condos.
confused with 820 East High condos, which are built 10 years ago.
The 1130 condos look fabulous. Why I think their ROI is going to be off the charts is the following. I think downtown we're seeing is trickling toward Pantops to Freebridge.
Yeah.
I think once Mr. Cosner and his daughter, who's running a lot of the estate, figure out what they want to do with the High Street corridor, I think the High Street corridor is going to turn into this very like fashion forward and Tony and sexy and almost like what Scott's Addition is in Richmond.
Yeah, I like that.
You know?
Yeah, so Brown's Dry Cleaners just sold and it's being renovated to 3 or 4 commercial spaces.
You got a pie chest
The
down
pie
there.
chest is like 1 block further, and then we have to Rivanna River afters.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to happen. It takes some time, and that might extend even down River Road.
My
On
mentor,
the other
Bill
side.
Nitchman, owns a lot of
Yes.
River Road. He's a good friend of mine. What do you see in 10 years for the High Street corridor?
Well, I guess the city's already planning to do some landscaping and extend it almost to our project. I know that people
It
in
needs a
my
sidewalk.
it's got a sidewalk. Don't we have a sidewalk? I think we have a sidewalk.
Not the whole corridor.
Well, that's, we could talk about sidewalks for a long time.
Yeah.
Just go down East Market Street sometime where I live and look at this travesty they call sidewalks. Do you know what the city made these poor home builders blast into the rock like a 30-foot long sidewalk which goes nowhere and starts from nowhere just to have a sidewalk in front of their house? It's a travesty.
It is a travesty.
It's such a waste of money. And so we have sidewalks which don't connect to other places. At least on High Street, I think they go all the way. So, but sidewalks are very important. I'm glad you brought that up.
What do you think? What do you see as the future there? What do you see? Restaurants,
Well,
shops, breweries,
More housing. No,
more housing,
well,
more density?
Pat Burns at Remax, he works with...
Rachel's watching.
Yeah, Rachel and Pat. They have a client who owns 5 houses just a block away, further down, that they're looking seriously at 1130 condos to do something similar. So that may be an inkling of the future.
How much of an impact does the Cosner family have on the High Street corridor? Because they own a lot of it.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot right now that he's renting to food trucks for $20 a day. Because
corner there.
Tacos Gomez, one of my favorite tacos
Yeah.
in town, I play racquetball with Kevin and Miguel, and his family owns Tacos Gomez. They pay $20 a day to park their food truck there.
Yeah.
And they
Well,
crush it.
Yeah.
That corridor is underutilized. I don't want
Well-
them leaving that corridor, okay? But that could be an epic corner.
And the corner's great, yeah. What's her name who works for, what's Cosner's daughter's name?
I've drawn a blank on here.
Well, she used to work at
Yeah.
Remax with
Yeah.
us.
She's a real estate agent.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's sweet. And we've talked a lot about that. And they also own some land down on the riverside, further down River Avenue, River Street. Across from Sunday Solar, there's a Richard Chrysler's building.
I'm curious to see what happens. If you guys know, if you guys can put, is it Kim?
Kim.
Yeah.
Kim's great.
Yeah.
Kimberly.
I think she's calling the shots now.
Kimberly, yeah, she is.
Yeah.
And she's had offers for that property. I think she'd love to do something nice. The city's been pretty stringent about the streetscape that they require.
Abby says High Street needs a lot. It's a mishmash eyesore right now. I don't go that far, Abby. You're not going to go that far either, are you?
No, I enjoy walking down, especially when you go from our project in Smith and Robertson up west. It's quite nice. Building Management Corporation and Shelter have all done really nice works with their offices on the north side there.
It's just in a unique, like Scott's Addition in Richmond, it's in this unique crossroads where it's slowly going from industrial service-oriented businesses to a gentrified, higher price point, close to downtown, millennial liver and resident.
Yeah. Well, next to CFA is the apartments there where the hospital used to be. And
Right.
those are all full. People love, walking to them downtown.
That right there is end of that sizzle reel, and call that the High Street corridor. That one's fantastic. And we're getting a lot of folks that want to know about this. Roger, update us on the Ice Park endeavors.
Well, what I thought before I came in, that the topic is so broad it transcends this video cast.
Yeah.
But I thought I could start to answer it by telling everyone the economics of the Charlottesville Ice Park and Main Street Arena?
Please.
Because no one, I don't think people know. So Lee Danielson and Colin Rolfe had this idea we alluded to. It cost about $6 million to build the Charlottesville Ice Park in 95, 96, including the land was $770,000, which went to the city. So, and then they built another ice park in Fredericksburg. But I don't know, 10 years later or so, or 8, they divorced. So Dorothy, who was behind the scenes, sold the ice park to the Williamsons for $3 million, half of that price. And they lost, 7 figures, I think, in 5 years. So
Wow.
they were going to close it down, and Mark Brown said, that's not good for business, and it would have been terrible for them all.
You put a group together.
So we put an investor group, I was one, and we raised $400,000, and we did, and this is the interesting thing, we did what I call the ideal real estate transaction, and that
Ooh.
is, an ideal real estate transaction is when the seller gets his or her price, and the buyer gets his or her terms, and so there's a win-win. So here's what happened. We bought the assets of the ice park for $3 million, but we only had to give them $150,000. We put $250 into deferred maintenance, and then we got a note. A note is seller finance, and we got a note for 10 years,
Yeah.
and we paid $140,000 in round numbers every year to the sellers. So at our peak, we probably did $30,000 profit.
Mm-hmm.
We paid a $140,000 note. We had to pay real estate taxes and all the other expenses. It's quite expensive to run an ice rink.
Upkeep,
You can
staff.
imagine. Well, you can imagine just the
Keeping ice cold.
the energy costs.
Yeah.
So when I thought about you got to build a sustainable ice facility, what do you need? Well, you need a couple of things. You need an excellent location.
You need foot traffic.
It's got to be an excellent location. And you need to have reliably low operating costs, which means energy conservation. And so where can you get that? Now, where are ice arenas success? Where are they flourishing in this Mid-South area? Well, they're at universities. Now, I did this at Miami University. We started a hockey team in '67. I lobbied for 5 years with the president. 2 years after
Look at you.
yeah, that's where is that? 2 years after I graduated, they built the Goggin Ice Arena because Lloyd Goggin was the treasurer of Miami University, and he found the money. Now we have a $40 million ice arena. We have 6 Stanley Cup winners. I mean, it's the #1 sport. The women have a varsity synchronized skating team. So I've always felt it should be at the university. And I spent 12 years ago, I made a video with Bob Pinio and Tim Moore on converting U-Haul to ice skating. So anyway, that was just my effort.
That would have been a good idea.
You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Rest in peace, U-Haul.
2 years ago, I met Rick Ramsey in Richmond, who's a Tesla owner, and he used to play hockey on the team in the 70s. But he was co-chairman with President Castine on a $2 billion fundraising effort. And so we started working with the Board of Visitors and the Vice President, and we've been making a lot of progress behind the scenes. But a normal business person wouldn't have that long-range perspective, and they didn't have my background. So 4 of my teammates, they were looking around for where do we build another rink, okay? And I was part of that effort, and we ran into a lot of dead ends. But, Corin out at Brook Hill said, well, I need a reason for people to come to my shopping center. So he and Alan Taylor showed some interest. So they've been in the news recently with the Brook Hill Ice Park.
Yeah.
But what's not clear is if they have enough money to do this, because it's very expensive. Really, the only way a suburban ice rink will succeed is if someone gives them 100% of the money and pays all the operating losses. Just to give you an idea how difficult it is, the Fredericksburg Ice Park opened at the Central Park in Fredericksburg, right on Interstate 95, after the Charlottesville Ice Park. It lasted 3 years, and now it's a church. And it was a nicer facility than the ice park. The Roanoke Ice Station, next to the airport in Roanoke, which is a big city, 5 times our size, had plenty of parking. That lasted 3 years, and now it's the Spectrum Sports Academy, indoor soccer and baseball. So that's what a suburban ice rink is running up against. The economics are difficult. So let's see what happens there. Meanwhile, we're working behind the scenes. When President Ryan came on board, we kind of suspended our fundraising with the alumni. We raised $1.1 million with 20 guys, and we have 400 alumni around the country. So I said, let's focus on getting President Ryan up to speed, and then that led to talking to J.J. Davis and Mark Llewellyn. So that's what we're doing behind the scenes. We're trying to do it right because that's where all the customers are. You know, once a university embraces an ice facility, it becomes part of the culture.
Oh, absolutely.
There'll be 100 intramural teams. This happened in Miami. They had 300 intramural teams after 2 years.
So, and Harris, I know we do 3 sizzle reels per show, but the ice park this is important knowledge for the community. Start with my question about the ice park, and let's keep it going, please. A lot of people watching. Matthew Dalton Ford, thank you kindly for joining us here. Give it a like, give it a share. If you have a question on the ice park, put it on the chat, and I'll relay it to Roger. Couple things I'm going to throw to you, and then get out of your way. First, I'll set the stage for Brook Hill and what Riverbend Development, Corin Capshaw, and Alan Taylor are doing. North of town, northern Albemarle County, Polo Grounds vicinity.
Yeah.
It's a shopping center with potentially some lower price point homes creeping towards some higher price point homes, trying to build an ecosystem that's built around a neighborhood in this ice rink in northern Albemarle County. Is that safe?
Well, from what I know, it's mixed use. I mean, they don't have a website like North Point does. North Point, which I mentioned before, is doing exactly the same, but just north of them. But you can go on northpoint.com and see what they're doing. They have a site plan. They show the kind of houses they're going to do, apartments, attached, detached, et cetera. I'm just guessing that Brook Hill wants to do something similar.
I'm learning that corridor much more.
Yeah.
Because one of our clients, John Kerber of Dominion Custom Homes, is the custom home builder and developer behind the Prophet Ridge neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I'm learning that very quickly. Neil Williamson just put a fantastic link on my chat box, and he says other localities have recognized economic development value from ice parks and hockey, millions in tax revenue, and has a fantastic link that's kind of outlining what's happening. As a businessman, the natural follow-up question to you is, can a community, City of Charlottesville is less than 50,000 citizens. Yeah. Central Virginia in totality, all the outer counties, is roughly 300,000. And that's including Fluvanna, Louisa, Orange, Greene, Nelson, et cetera. Can a Central Virginia community, maybe even more micro than that, City of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Greene, can it sustain 2 ice parks that are within 5 miles of each other as the crow flies?
Well, what I say to that is we could sustain one well-located, one with low operating costs.
Yeah.
And it's conjecture after that. So that's why I put my effort towards
the UVA
university, where it seemed like a natural. Now, if you want to see what it could be like, you go down to Liberty University. So Liberty built their ice arena. It's called the LaHaye Ice Center because Jerry Falwell asked LaHaye to give him money. It cost $4 million. It's originally was seating like 1,500. That's where UVA played Liberty, and it was so successful they spent $11 million more. Now seats 3,200 with 500 standing room. They have a ESPN franchise for they have their own games on television. They have 6 hockey teams, 3 women's, 3 men's, all non-varsity, Division 1, 2, and 3. They have a synchronized women's skating program. They have 200 what they call club sport athletes. Do you know that club sport athletes give more money back to the universities after they graduate than varsity athletes?
Of course.
Yeah. So we don't need to go but an hour away to see what UVA could become.
Welcome to the show, Carly Tiegler. Welcome to the show, Chrissy Benninger, the owner of the Bluegrass Grill, is watching right now at the Bluegrass Grill. Love your restaurant. Do we think we're saying in August ground cracking for the ice rink, Brook Hill?
So
August.
They hired a publicist to do this, and I don't think the reporters asked him any questions, but if you're going to announce that you're going to start something, you need to say who the contractor was, at least, and where the money's coming from. So those are great guys. 3 of them are UVA grads.
Right.
I hope, let's just see what happens. I have to suspend judgment.
I love it. You're playing it safe.
Yeah, well, I wish everybody the best. I just felt like So the guys on my team, they're all older alumni. They're not trying to play hockey right away. They're going to take the long-term approach. So here's the thing about the next ice rink. If it doesn't last 50 years and it only lasts 3 years, there'll never be a fourth arena.
Right.
They're going to, instead of saving hockey and skating, they're going to...
It's going to terminate it.
They're going to destroy it for generations.
I agree.
It's a lot of pressure on whoever comes next. And, you know, at the university, you don't have to pay real estate taxes. We got a connection to 25,000 students, and not to mention administrators.
Do you see it as a year-round ice rink?
Yeah.
The ice never is turned into an event space.
Here's another thing. At the Main Street Arena, we had 2 floors. We did many non-ice events. It took 14 people 4 hours to cover the ice.
Yeah, the best of party with the CVille Weekly.
We had the best of CVille. We had CFA Institute. We had Virginia Film Festival. We had TEDxCharlottesville. We had Charlottesville Marathon. We had Derby Dames. I mean, I could go on and on. So one of our selling points to the university is we can cover the ice in May, and they can have all their graduations indoors for like Darden and JAG School and
that's a good idea.
Law School because it won't rain.
You're talking some vertical integration.
It's basically
here.
1,000 seats and 2,000 on the ice, or 1,500. So that's another asset that we can offer, like a little event space. That's why we were so successful. I think we did between $100,000 and $180,000 in non-ice events, and at least a half to 3/4 of those were only happening because we were on the downtown mall. They wouldn't happen in the suburbs.
Yeah.
I mean, Derby Dames, I can see them in the sub. They don't care where you are, but all the other things, Virginia Film Festival, that was, everything wanted to be on the mall. And the Main Street Arena offered this great venue. It's
because when the party's over, you can go to the bars.
Yeah, 18,000 square feet of open space. So that's another thing that we have to offer the university.
That's the end of that sizzle reel. And Harris, I'm going to work you into the show here. We're going to throw it to you in a matter of moments. So bring some fire, because I feel like this show's been on point right now. Ike Allen says hello.
Hey, Ike.
Billy Brown. Krista Farrell.
Krista's great.
Krista Farrell.
We went to Winneba.
Derek Davis.
Derek.
Micah Kessel.
Micah's great, obviously. You know Micah. You know Micah?
I do. Do I know Micah?
You should get him on here.
Why should I get Micah on here? Tell me about Micah.
Well, Micah's a unique artist, and he started and ran one of the world's best, I always forget the name. It's not an event space. It's a space where you go for experiences.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about, is it one of those, what's it called when you solve the problem, those spaces? An escape room?
Yeah, something like that.
Escape room.
Yeah, escape room. But he did it for corporations, and Micah just gave a great talk to Creative Mornings at the Vault.
Okay. John Schumann, Inhuman Schumann, the athletic director of Fork Union Military Academy, is watching. What's up, Coach Schumann? Brian Shine is watching. Andre Xavier, the owner of CVille Hop-On Tours, is watching.
Yeah, Andre, great guy.
Bellamy Brown, who's running for city council, is watching. A lot of people watching here. I want to throw, and you've filled 65 minutes and made it seem easy.
We didn't even get to
I know, because you and I get to talking about so much.
What did we leave out?
Harris, we'll get to you here. I want to talk. Terry Kett said this on yesterday's show. This gentleman, one of the first owners of a Tesla in Charlottesville.
Yeah, but I got to give shout-outs to Sandy Reisky and Jaffrey Woodruff. They were amongst the first 4 people with Teslas. There was a few others. But I had one of the first Model X's.
Right.
So thanks, Terry, but it wasn't quite like that.
Sam McGrain, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. Harris, my friend, this was a fantastic interview. The guy has such great recollection, and he's such a good storyteller of the community. This guy's born and raised.
We didn't talk about our best things.
I know. We got to get to the TEDx. We will. We also have to let this guy do his job. Yes, we're still on camera. We're still on camera.
I wanted to talk about that. That's
Harris
the most important thing.
Let's get Harris Tolber in the mix. What are you thinking, Harris?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this interview. It's cool, for me. I always say this on the show, but like just to learn about this place that I grew up in, kind of the history even before I was like, we moved here when I was 6 years old and like around 2001. So I've just been learning so much about like how Charlottesville has developed.
Do you like history? You should join the new Center for Culture and History that Coy Barefoot's expanding.
Okay. All right.
Should definitely join that.
He loves history.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love history too. I mean, history. What's not to like about history?
And what I like about Harris, and throw it back to him, what I like about you is you're passionate about the community. You know what? I want to give him some time, and Harris, I know this is going to put you in a tough spot. We'll wrap quickly here. I want to give him some time to talk about what's atop the list here. You and I can sit in the spot and pass an entire afternoon by just talking about Charlottesville. TEDx and the UVA men's basketball team and Tony Bennett.
What if TEDxCharlottesville never existed? Would UVA basketball have won the national championship?
Ooh.
And if you read the online Sports Illustrated long, detailed story that came out the next day.
Got it here, Harris. If you want to go to a two-shot.
You will read an amazing story about, and so that I may say that, yes, they may not have won if it wasn't for TEDxCharlottesville. So don't believe anything I say. Go online, because online it has the live link to Donald Davis's talk at our 2014 TEDx at the Paramount that Laurel Bennett, Tony's wife, happened to be at, and she remembered 4 years later. And Tony watched it and was so moved by it, he made the entire team watch it. And basically, Donald Davis said, if you don't tell your story, it sits on you forever. And so Tony and the coaches and all the players, young guys, instead of like
hiding
being
from
embarrassed
right.
by this ignominious defeat to UMBC, they embraced it. They told the story, each in their own way, all the time. And so when they went to Duke and there were shouts of UMBC, Kyle Guy wasn't bothered by it at all. There was no subconsciousness, lurking in their minds when it was clutch time in the tournament. And there were so many times where they could have lost. You watched it.
Yeah.
They could have lost that tournament.
And the first round.
4 or 5 different times.
Certainly.
Every time they came through, they were like they were emotional alchemists. They converted this leaden event to gold because they embraced it and they told the story. And you can read it. I mean, Tony Bennett mentioned it on the podium after they won. That's how important it was. So just think, if you didn't do these shows, what wouldn't have happened? If we didn't do TEDx, we would never know that we played a part in this.
In some ways, this show is in that category.
Yes.
This show was directly influenced by August 11th and August 12th. I was out there for 2 reasons. So I could relate to my son once he got to history class what happened from my eyes. Also owned the lion's share of this building and was concerned about the investment.
Sure.
Okay, outside the building.
Storekeeper.
So, yeah, saw what was happening. I'm like, Harris, Tolber, Western Albemarle graduate, JMU graduate. Judah Wickower, how long you been here, Judah, in Charlottesville? So 17 years, Judah. Basically his whole life, Harris. I've been here for 19 years, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
You've been here longer than that. Okay, where I'm going with this is we wanted to do as a team our small part to make Charlottesville better while embracing August 11th and 12th and then doing what we could to rebrand, change the dynamic, the positive vibes out there, similar to what's happening here.
Yeah. And you never know until you do it. And then a couple of years ago, I thought, why don't we interview the people who came to TEDx and ask them how it changed their life? We never got that project off the ground. It's a lot of work. But here it was. The answer was right in Sports Illustrated.
I love it. Andy Staples is the author.
Yeah, and if you put a show link with the, because it's not the same on paper.
Okay.
And the I noticed because when I printed the.
Will you put that link in there, Harris?
When I printed
the Sports Illustrated story.
It's funny when I printed the website, it didn't print the TEDx thing for some reason. Maybe it's to do with copyrights.
He's a fabulous storyteller.
Well, that's why she remembered it.
Yeah.
He's one of our favorite speakers.
Yeah, he's good. This is
Donald Davis, and he had been to Charlottesville before. A lot of storytellers like Larry Goldstein, he knew him.
I love
previously.
it. I love it. You crushed it today.
Well, thank you very much.
You
My
crushed it
pleasure
today.
to share what I know.
Jeff Lysak.
Lysiak?
Yeah. Roger Voisinet, great job. Youth hockey in Charlottesville needs a rink and needs a Roger.
I agree we need a rink. I call it the ice sports facility to show that it's not just a rink, it's not just hockey, it's figure skating and curling and just general skating.
Terry Brand, is it Zweig?
Terry Zweig.
Zweig.
Yeah.
She says hello.
She's great.
Yeah, she's giving you some props right now. He crushed it. The show in totality will be archived on ilovecville.com. We're updating the website right now as we speak. Judah is. That should be polished off. Are we thinking by the end of the day there, Judah, on the updates? Okay, thank you very much, Judah. So this entire show archived on ilovecville.com. We're going to syndicate the show and the sizzle reels from the show for 30 days across the I Love CVille network. I would love, 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 and to have you back.
Yeah, we'll come back. I'll come back anytime. And
Because we got to about 70% of the list here.
What did we miss? We missed
Solar.
We missed talk about solar, electric
Self-directed
cars,
IRAs.
self-directed IRAs, Jacksonville Wealth Builders, Harmony Ridge Development coming up with Mark Watson.
We could fill another 3
and
shows
Eileen
with
Butler.
that list.
I know.
The self-directed IRAs, I really want you guys to learn about from Roger. We will talk about that on the next show. Tony Fisher says, great show, guys. Watch from start to finish. Thank you, Tony. Remember playing poker with you, Tony, at the clubhouse. You were a great poker player. We close the program the same way every single time. We ask everybody that's watching the program to embody the golden rule. We don't make it about religion, but we do make it about treating others with the same decency and, you know, the same good vibes that you want to be treated yourself. If we treat other people like we want to be treated ourselves, can you imagine the impact that would have in our community? And to Charlottesville and Central Virginia, doesn't the country need that more than ever? Treating other people how we want to be treated ourselves. Just do it, guys. It's the golden rule. Seems so simple, but yet we don't do it. The golden rule. For Harris Tolber, for Judah Wickower, for the team upstairs, it's the I Love CVille Show. My name is Jerry Miller. Tomorrow we have, I think, Rory Stolzenberg, Planning Commissioner. He's going to join us to talk about the Dewberry. Larimore. The Larimore.
Jack Larimore.
The Larimore. And what John Dewberry is doing to our city. We might welcome a developer and real estate agent to the program as well, and Keith Smith. He developed much of Lake Monticello, is a real estate agent locally that's doing big-time things for Roy Wheeler and the Yes team, and just have a good roundtable discussion about what's happening in our community. Have a good afternoon, guys. Great show.
Thank you very much.
It was fun.
It was fun, especially the way you do it.
Yeah, it was
All
so
those people
fun.
jumping in.
People jumping in, chiming in.
Yeah.
Neil gave some good perspective. We got one more thing. We got a photo to take.
Okay.
Judah, you want to grab that pic for us? Roger, you're a fantastic story.